They were able to control our run game, played really physical up front. They played a lot of guys. They outplayed us up front, and that played a big part in the game. When we did get momentum and we're moving the ball, we seemed to stub our toe each time, either with a turnover, a penalty, or something that kept us from doing it. But our kids are resilient. Our kids will continue to fight. We've got to look ourselves in the mirror as coaches, staff, and do a better job.
So some notes from the loss for Georgia. Fromm ends up with 4 turnovers. Had a big 97-yard drive in the fourth, but way too many mistakes for the Dogs QB. DeAndre Swift, he got it done on the ground. How about 113 yards and a touchdown for that young man? And now Kentucky comes to Athens next week. Georgia needs a win, and then it possibly sets up a winner-take-all showdown for the SEC East title with the Gators right here in Jacksonville. Both teams now with 1 loss in conference play. Let's bring in Brent Martineau and Dan Hicken for more on the ramifications of this Georgia loss to South Carolina.
What a stunner. South Carolina over Georgia, and in Athens, where Jake Fromm had been unbelievable between the hedges. He was not unbelievable in this game. Now, what does it mean going forward for Georgia? And here's the deal in the SEC and in the landscape of college football. Sometimes you're allowed a mulligan, and I think Georgia might be allowed this mulligan. It just shows that now with this 1 loss, they won't be a 1-loss team going into the Final Four.
And sometimes you're allowed a mulligan, sometimes you're not, depending on how many teams can go undefeated. Now, it's a bad loss because it's a home loss to an unranked team. So then you get into the next level, which is all the 1-loss teams. And if your 1 loss is, say, in the SEC championship game and you're, Alabama or LSU, it doesn't necessarily mean that, Georgia's loss looks a lot worse.
Yeah, and I should have said 2 losses now. They can't afford another loss.
Another loss and they're out.
And they're out. Yeah. And that's the deal. You're allowed this one. They have to take care of business, and if they do so, I think they'll still have enough credibility, especially in college football.
The way they played today, they could lose to Auburn, they could lose to Florida, and they could lose the SEC championship game if they get there. So they can't focus right now on the big picture. They got to get ready and get well against Kentucky.
Yeah, and to lose that at home is the bigger problem, I think, for Kirby Smart. And it wasn't the most well-coached game either.
No.
This wasn't a game like a fluky for South Carolina.
Yeah.
Georgia should have lost this like 14 different times.
Yeah, and I don't want to – Jake Fromm had a bad day.
He did.
And it'll always make Georgia fans wonder, Justin Fields, Jacob Eason, Jake Fromm.
He's been so good,
I know. It's not fair. It's 0-5, though, right? Yeah. When he throws 30 passes or more.
Which is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. All right, well, we'll see where Georgia goes from here. Of course, in a few weeks, we'll see him in Jacksonville against the Gators.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. The Georgia game, just one of the many that the dudes picked on the Action Sports Jacks Take Your Pick Pile On podcast. Go check it out on Facebook, or if you don't want to look at those two, you can listen to it wherever podcasts are located, which I understand is a lot of places. So there you go.